The mind is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. That's something I learned early in life. If you don't take control of your own thinking, trust me, someone else will. You see, your mind is always at work, every second, whether you give it instructions or not. It's absorbing, recording, processing, and if you're not careful, it's collecting the wrong messages. From the news, from the crowd, from that voice of doubt inside your head that says, you can't. But let me tell you something, you can. You absolutely can. What if I told you that most people are already brainwashed, and not in the way they think, not by some science fiction villain with blinking lights and a hypnotic stare? No. They're brainwashed by repetition, by routine, by exposure to mediocrity, by years of being told what's realistic. Let me tell you, mediocrity is the most contagious disease on the planet, and if you're not careful, it'll creep into your mind like smoke through a crack in the wall, quiet, invisible, and deadly. The good news? You can flip the script. You can rewire your mind, bit by bit, decision by decision, until success becomes the default, until the voice in your head stops whispering doubt and starts shouting certainty. That's what today's all about. Not just changing your mind, but training it, conditioning it, programming it with purpose. You want to know how to brainwash yourself for success? Let me give it to you straight. It starts with intentional thought. Not random, not reactive, intentional. What you allow in, what you repeat, what you believe, that becomes who you are. And most people, they're walking around with beliefs they didn't even choose. Ideas they absorbed when they were 5, 10, 15 years old. Passed down by parents, teachers, neighbors, folks who meant well but didn't know better. You've got to interrupt the old programming, break the mental loops. And how do you do that? Action, repetition, reinforcement. That's the formula. Not once, not twice, but over and over until the new thinking replaces the old. You've got to decide right now that you're no longer available for average. Not in your thoughts, not in your habits, not in your results. That you're going to demand more of yourself, not because it's easy, but because it's right. You see, success is not a mystery. It's a practice, a lifestyle, a way of walking and talking and showing up in the world, and that lifestyle begins in the mind. Every high performer I've ever known, from athletes to artists to entrepreneurs, has had to unlearn the noise and relearn the truth. Let me give you an example. Picture a young man with ambition. Let's say he comes from a small town, grew up modest, maybe nobody in his family ever went beyond the basics. He gets told, don't aim too high, just play it safe. He hears it enough times, it starts to sound like wisdom, but it's not. It's fear dressed up in good intentions, and unless he questions that belief, he'll live his whole life 2 inches from the edge, never taking the leap. Now imagine that same young man, same background, same odds, but one day he hears a different voice, maybe in a book, maybe from a mentor, a voice that says, you are not your past, you are your potential. That little spark, it's all it takes. He starts feeding that voice, listening to ideas that empower, taking actions that stretch him, repeating the right thoughts until they become his new reality. That young man, he doesn't just beat the odds, he becomes the odds. And you can too. That's the power of mental programming. You don't have to accept the beliefs handed to you. You can install new ones, just like software. And you do it by guarding your input. You have to become a gatekeeper to your own mind. Be selective, be intentional, be ruthless. If the information doesn't serve you, turn it off. If the conversation doesn't elevate you, walk away. If the thought doesn't empower you, rewrite it. And let's talk about action, because programming the mind is not just about what you think, it's about what you do. Every time you take action aligned with your goals, you reinforce the mindset. You teach your brain, this is who I am now. And if you act often enough, with enough clarity and consistency, the brain begins to follow suit. Thoughts become behavior, behavior becomes habit, habit becomes identity. And identity, that becomes destiny. So, I want you to remember something. Change your identity, change your life. But to change your identity, you must first speak like the person you want to become. Think like the person you want to become. And act like the person you want to become. Before you feel ready. Before it makes sense. Before anyone else believes it. Now you might say, but Jim, I've tried before. I've fallen off track. Of course you have. That's part of it. Falling off doesn't disqualify you. Staying down does. You fall, you get back up with new data, new determination, and new decisions. You don't shrink back into the old identity. You reach further into the new one, and you keep climbing. If you really want to brainwash yourself for success, it starts by doing what others won't. Waking up earlier, reading more, speaking less and listening more, saying no to distractions, saying yes to discipline, the boring stuff, the lonely stuff, the consistent stuff. Because that's what builds champions, not just talent, but daily alignment. Success is not a secret. It's a series of daily deposits into your future self. And every deposit you make rewires your mind to believe, I deserve this. I'm building this. This is who I am now. Don't wait for the world to change. Change yourself and the world will respond. Now let's get something straight. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. That means if your mind is running on outdated software, old doubts, borrowed limitations, worn out excuses, then your goals don't stand a chance. Not because they're too big, but because your program is too small. Let me ask you, when's the last time you upgraded your thinking? And I'm not just talking about positive quotes on your phone screen or a podcast here and there. I'm talking about a real upgrade. A change in your inner dialogue, a shift in your standards, a whole new set of rules for what you believe about yourself. Because here's the truth. You can't outperform your identity for very long. If deep down you still see yourself as unworthy, undeserving, incapable, unsure, guess what? Your results will keep circling the same drain. That's not failure, it's feedback. Your life will always mirror your self-image. Always. So if you want to change your results, you don't fight the world. You change your wiring. And the first place to start, your language. Words are the builders of belief. Every time you say, I'm just not good at that, or that's not who I am, or I've never been that disciplined, you're not describing yourself, you're instructing yourself. That's a command to your subconscious. And your brain, oh, it listens. It's a loyal soldier. You give it the wrong orders, it'll follow them to the letter. You want different results? Give better commands. Tell your mind who you're becoming, not who you've been. I'm the kind of person who follows through. I'm the kind of person who figures it out. I'm the kind of person who finishes what I start. That's not pretending, that's programming. Say it, repeat it, prove it. That's how you overwrite the old script. Let me give you a personal example. Years ago, I was struggling with procrastination. I'd get fired up in the morning, but by noon, my energy would crash and I'd start drifting. You know what I realized? It wasn't a discipline problem, it was a belief problem. Deep down, I didn't believe I was the kind of person who could execute all day, so I started repeating a new phrase. I finish strong. Over and over. Every day. At first it felt silly, then it felt normal, then it felt true. Before I knew it, I was pushing harder in the evenings than I ever had in the mornings. Why? Because the belief had shifted. And where the belief goes, the behavior follows. That's brainwashing done right. You wash out the weakness, the doubt, the fear, and you replace it with strength, clarity, direction. You give yourself a mental environment where success can grow. Because let me tell you, success is not grown in chaos. It's grown in order, focus, precision. But be warned, the old programming doesn't leave quietly. No, it fights to stay. It'll whisper in your ear, come on, take it easy. Don't go too far. You've done enough. And that's when you go further. That's when you say, thanks for the opinion, but I've got a vision to fulfill. That's the difference between people who try and people who transform. Trying is hoping, transforming is deciding. And nothing changes until you decide to reprogram that inner world. Let's talk about repetition, because this part gets missed. Everyone loves motivation, but repetition? That's where the real change happens. You can't just visit a new thought once and expect it to stick. You've got to move in, unpack your bags, live in it. That's how you brainwash yourself for greatness, through exposure, through consistency, through ownership. Here's another one for you. Most people spend more time choosing a Netflix show than choosing their thoughts. Isn't that something? They'll scroll for 30 minutes to find the right entertainment, but they'll let any old thought take up permanent residence in their mind. Doubt, worry, regret, comparison. What a waste. You've got to be more selective with your mental real estate. Stop leasing space to thoughts that aren't paying rent. If it doesn't serve your future, it doesn't belong in your focus. You've got to evict the tenets that are dragging your energy down and start curating your mindset like your life depends on it, because it does. Here's something else I want you to consider. Every moment you reinforce the right habit, you weaken the grip of the wrong one. You don't just break habits by resisting them, you outgrow them by replacing them. Want to stop doubting yourself? Start stacking wins. Want to stop procrastinating? Start doing one thing immediately every morning. You don't have to fix your whole life in a week. You just have to show your brain that you're serious, that you're not who you used to be. And when the brain sees proof, it listens. When it hears the words, it leans in. But when it sees the action, now it believes. Now it changes. So the question becomes, what are you proving to your brain every day? Are you proving you're capable or proving you're stuck? Are you reinforcing power or weakness? Are you programming the mindset of a winner or letting the world hand you a default identity that keeps you small? Because if you don't take the reins, the world will, and the world has no shortage of labels for you: too old, too young, too late, not enough. But here's the truth. Those labels only stick if you wear them. And I say, burn the labels, replace them with purpose, with a sense of mission, with a declaration that your future is not determined by where you started, but by what you decide to believe from this day forward. So decide, choose your thoughts, choose your standards, choose to brainwash yourself with so much truth, so much clarity, so much strength that doubt doesn't even recognize you anymore. You want success? Start programming yourself like someone who's already living it. Walk like it, speak like it, plan like it, move like it, and before long your reality will catch up to your mentality. Now let me remind you, there's no such thing as a neutral mind. It's either moving you forward or pulling you back. It's either building you up or tearing you down. There is no standing still in the mind. It's always at work. So the question is, what direction is it working in? Is your thinking lifting your standards, or is it slowly lowering the bar? Every thought is either a step closer to success or a step towards stagnation. And once you realize that, you stop treating your thoughts like background noise. You treat them like tools, like weapons, like fuel. Here's what I learned after years of observing the most successful people in the world. They're not luckier, they're not smarter, they're not born with a special code. What they've mastered is this: they think differently. They don't let emotions run the show. They don't let circumstances write the rules. They have trained their minds to filter out what doesn't serve the mission. And they've done it day after day, year after year, until success became not a possibility but an expectation. They've brainwashed themselves for greatness, not by accident, but by discipline. And you can do the same. Don't let your history dictate your destiny. Don't let your environment decide your potential. Your past might explain you, but it doesn't have to define you. Every single day is a fresh chance to carve a new pattern into your mind, to stop reinforcing the old identity that kept you small and start installing the new one that moves mountains. I'll say it again, repetition is the architect of identity, and identity is the gatekeeper of results. If you want better results, build a stronger identity. And that starts with how you speak to yourself, how you train your thoughts, and how you show up when nobody's watching. Now listen, success is not a trick. It's not a gimmick. It's not a secret buried in a book no one can find. It's a decision. A decision to take charge of your mind, your habits, your time, your energy. And when you decide, really decide, to condition your thinking every single day for growth, for courage, for discipline, the world responds in kind. You start to attract new ideas, new people, new opportunities. Why? Because you change the signal you're sending. You're no longer broadcasting fear, you're broadcasting strength. Don't wait for life to hand you a sign. You are the sign, you are the signal, you are the turning point. From this moment forward, you can choose to brainwash yourself with the kind of thinking that builds empires, with the kind of clarity that outlasts confusion, with the kind of belief that bends reality to your will. The outside world may be chaotic, but your inner world can be rock solid, anchored, driven, untouchable. You don't have to be perfect, you don't have to have all the answers, but you do have to be consistent in how you show up, consistent in what you allow into your head, and consistent in what you reject. Reject laziness, reject excuses, reject the myth that you were meant to be ordinary. You weren't. You were designed to rise. And the rise begins the day you stop listening to noise and start feeding yourself the truth. So here's my final word to you. Rewire it, reprogram it, reinforce it. Do it until the new you becomes automatic, until the habits stick, until the belief is unshakable, until success becomes your normal, not your wish. If you've got a mind, and you do, then you've got the power to change your life. Use it, own it, and never give it away again.